Hi, I'm Brandon Graisley. I'm a high school math teacher. We're going to learn about factorials. A factorial is a special operator. It uses the exclamation point symbol, and I'm just going to write down the definition first and then talk about why it's useful. The value of, and I'm going to write n with the exclamation point immediately after it. The value of this. Now this is, we pronounce this as n factorial. I'll just write that here. We say n factorial. So the value of that is, you take n and you multiply it by 1 less than n, and multiply that by 1 less again, so n minus 2, and so on until you get down to the end, 3, 2, 1. So let me write a real example with a number now. The number 8 factorial is 8 times 8 minus 1, 7, 8 minus 2, 6, and this pattern gets followed all the way down. It's the product of all the numbers from 1 up to n, or the number that we're talking about. So maybe I can write that down. We say this is the product, that's multiplication, of the first n natural numbers. Natural numbers are those counting numbers, not including 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. No negatives. Now, n is clearly defined for 1, 2, 3, and so on. So 3 factorial is 3, 2, 1. 5 factorial is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 multiplied together. It's maybe not clear though, what about 0? Can we do a 0 factorial? And we can. We're going to define it specially so that everything works out nicely for our math. We define 0 factorial as the number 1. That might be reminiscent of what we've done with exponents before. Like 5 to the exponent 0 is 1. If you have no 5's multiplied together, we still count it as 1. Same for this. If you take 0 natural numbers and multiply them together, we just say that we get 1. So n factorial then is defined for all whole numbers. So that's natural numbers plus 0. So that's 0, 1, 2, and so on. Okay, let's write down a few examples of how this works. And as we go, I'll just mention that this is useful. We've noticed in our counting so far that this pattern of numbers shows up very often as we're arranging things. So let's write down a few examples. That's why this is going to be really helpful for us when we're counting arrangements. So let's write down 6 factorial. That's 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And you can grab a calculator if you like, or maybe you can do that in your head, I don't know. 720. We can try 4 factorial. That's 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. You'll notice that every factorial like that is listed in every larger factorial. There's 4, 3, 2, 1 inside of 6 factorial. This is 24. And maybe I'll just continue with a 5 factorial right now to show you that 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And interestingly, that's the same as 5 times 4 factorial. But I know 4 factorial is 24, right? We just did that. So if I know 4 factorial, I can kind of figure out 5 factorial just by multiplying it by 5. So that was 24. Multiply 24 by 5 and you get 120. So you can use previous factorials to help you figure out bigger ones. Let's do kind of a larger one. 9 factorial. And you might think, well, that doesn't seem very large. Well, it is. Let's write it all down. This will take a moment. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm already tired. And this is definitely calculator worthy because it's 362,880. These numbers get really big really quickly. Let's do 2 more. I'm going to have to kind of squeeze them in. I'm at the bottom of my page. How about 18 factorial? Now, it's not twice as much as this number. You can see these have been growing very quickly. It's actually very, very, very large. In fact, it's so big that I'm going to write an approximation for it. We usually don't have to write down approximations in data management, but this time we will. It's about 6.40 times 10 to the 15. So it's like a 16-digit number. That's a lot of digits. It's extremely large. You can't just multiply, 2 times 9 factorial is not 18 factorial. It would be only about 700,000. And you know what? Maybe I can squeeze the very last one in. What is 0 factorial? No need to do any calculations. That one's just always 1. Now, you can type all this in if you wish into a calculator, or maybe you can do some of them like this one mentally, but there is a button on basically every scientific calculator that shows how this works, or that will make this calculation for you. So the calculator button is going to either say n factorial or x factorial. It just depends on the brand of the calculator. So look for that button, n factorial or x factorial. And on some calculators, it's not a button on its own. You have to press like shift or second function to find it. So the way you would type that in, you would type 5, then press that button, and then press enter or equals on your calculator, and it should tell you 120 for 5 factorial. Okay, so that is what a factorial is, and that is how you use a calculator to calculate them.